Warning: this is not your normal podcast. Its purpose is to provide thought-provoking dialogue with a slanted perspective. Here we encourage influential conversations. Give us a listen, like and share. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Welcome to CEO and the Doctor.
Yo, CEO and the Doctor, season 3 episode. Where we at 16 now? I think it's episode
16,
16.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. How you doing today, P?
Oh man, I'm good, man. It's been a long week. Not necessarily anything that I've either done or hadn't done, but just all the bullshit that's happened, man. It's which we're gonna cover. We're gonna cover a lot of it, but it's kind of surreal to think about so much shit happening and seemingly, you know, it's not ending.
Yeah, that's true,
How you
man.
doing?
I don't know, man. That anxiety thing, that mental stress thing, all that stuff is real, and stuff like this, man. You can't help but to think about it, and it's been on my mind all week, man. So
Yeah.
we got a lot to talk about. I say we just get right into it, man. So
Let's
we'll
do it.
start with the flash, and that'll begin with more bad news, man. So let's go ahead and roll right into it, man. You know what? It's wild. Of course, I don't live in Indy no more, but that's still home. And to see that mass shootings actually are now headlines in my city was very surreal. It happened at the FedEx plant, or I'm say complex. 8 individuals were killed. So that same type of story, gun violence, individuals killed, harmless, innocent, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was a young white male again. I think he was
Yeah.
19 years old, maybe an
Yep.
ex-employee.
19.
But not that, this one highlights any grander than any other ones that happened, but for me it's just different because the first time, my city
Yeah.
was, I guess, the next headline, and it just makes you think like no one is exempt and you never know where this is going to strike. And, before we could even digest that happened a few days ago, you hit me this morning. Go ahead and tell me about that. A couple more,
There
right?
was a, there was a couple more. Yeah. One in Austin, Texas, and I sent you another one. Um, where is it at? Real quick. Yeah, 3 people dead after shooting incident in Austin, Texas. Just now, it's still going on right now, and 3 killed, 2 injured in Kenosha, Wisconsin, as well. This is never ending. And I was reading an article recently about somebody's op-ed on CNN about how America will sacrifice lives for its liberties. You know, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want you to take my guns from me. So hell be damned. We're seeing countless people being killed. You know, for the sake of gun ownership.
Right.
So how can we be a country this large, this rich, and not give a damn about each other?
I don't know, man. It's it's mind blowing, man. And we could speculate why we think this is happening. Um, and regardless of whatever it might be, the reason for why it's happening now, like seemingly
Yeah,
every week, I think it was up to 45 when the Indianapolis one happened a couple days ago. So now you add these couple more. So
yeah.
now we're nearing 50. But at
It,
the end
it,
of
it's
the day,
it's been
man,
45 in the last 30 days, close to 50 now with these three.
it's
So
just it's a trend now, and that's a
yeah,
problem. It's a trend to wake up and go out and do something mindless and irresponsible and take
yeah,
lives, and then back to regularly scheduled programming. Basically, we
Hmm.
try to, reset, and before we even have a chance to give our, you know, disregards or heartfelt, whatever warmth to the families that are involved, we got to digest another one. So it's
Yeah.
getting something has to happen, and it's got to happen in a grand way, man. So,
Yeah,
um,
someone's got to give. This is absolutely ridiculous. Just real quick before we transition, I was reading this morning about how the 19-year-old shooter in Indy, the police there confiscated 2 shotguns out of his house just recently, and he got 2 more guns legally.
I
You know,
mean, that's going to be something that, forever and a day is going to be like, the right to possess and have weapons and ammo. That's part of our legal rights given under the Constitution. But then you have situations like this,
yeah,
like, and like you said, like some were confiscated, then you just go and get others. And at what point are we going to say every time you bring up, you know, stopping gun violence or trying to reduce the amount of guns in circulation, will people stop trying to say that that's somebody, infringing on their rights? I mean, I feel
right,
like there's got to be some kind of compromise between the NRA and, government officials, because this is getting way too common.
yeah.
Way too
This
common.
is an epidemic. This is an epidemic, and
Yeah.
it's been going on for far too long. I don't know. I don't know. I wish that this was something that we can actually explore and actually come up with some concrete solutions. But you know, as long as people don't care until it happens to them, nothing
Yeah.
ever changes.
Yeah. And that's something we can see with anything. Whether we're talking gun violence or we're talking, whatever it might be,
COVID,
taxes,
yeah,
COVID,
yeah,
until something actually affects the individual, people tend to not care.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, that's enough about the mass shooting. So let's get into another situation that happened this week, that being the actions of Staff Sergeant Pentland down in South Carolina. So P, I'll let you kick this off if you want
This
to begin.
idiot. So he lives in a gated community, and he and his wife are in the house. I guess he sees this black young man walking down the street. So he rushes from his home, no shoes. The video's out there. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the video, and he literally harasses and accosts this guy. Um, Luckily, there was another bystander that was watching the actions of Pentland, Mrs. Pentland, and how they, pretty much verbally and physically assaulted this guy named DeAndre. Uh, and nowadays, everybody's got video, so the video went viral. And this guy, not only has he been, he stands to be pretty much run out of his neighborhood for these actions. Uh, he also stands to lose his military career. He's 42 years old, so he's probably been in the army for at least 10 years. And this is where you remember how we used to talk about when we were in Air Force. Well, you're still in when we worked together. Uh, you never know who's watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, for one, let's just he accosts this black kid, right? Go to work. The senior enlisted guy for the base is black. The commanding general is black. Do you not have the wherewithal to understand repercussions? I mean, series of dominoes falling, how this impacts you. But anyway,
Nah,
yeah,
I mean, perhaps maybe that wasn't even in mind, because at that moment, here you are, someone saying something of the sort of, we're a tight knit community, and he's feeling like I'm doing a grand action by,
yeah.
as you said, impeding, impeding on the liberties, or infringing on the liberties of this individual walking through the neighborhood. Now, I will say this: here's where this story
Who
gets
and
somewhat
and
weird.
DeAndre lives in that neighborhood.
True. And I feel like it's going to get somewhat weird because,
Mhm.
apparently there was two unfiled or just I don't know, complaints that were made about him that same week leading up to
Right.
the day of this situation. So I don't
Yeah.
know if Pentland had any kind of knowledge of that, but it seemed as if he was trying to, you know, at that point enforce a certain code. And again, we can go back to what we talked about with Lieutenant last week, the
Yeah.
words that are chosen, so the way he was saying certain things to him, it was basically telling him like you don't belong here,
Yeah.
regardless. And
Yeah.
then there's certain things that are then I feel like, it gets kind of wild because then you create a situation where again, me being a black person, I'm supposed to comply to whatever you told me. So tell me where you
Mhm.
live. I ain't never seen you around here. That must mean you're not from around here, whatever it might
Right.
be. Those
Yeah.
things is when it gets a little wild. And of course, he curses the kid out. He then, actually puts
Pushes
his
him.
hand on him.
Yeah.
And I want to go to the tight knit thing for a minute because what we end up seeing, and sometimes you don't realize what you asked for, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
hold on, I gotta find it. We could talk about it. But basically,
Oh,
he was
it's
he,
it's a tight knit neighborhood, but I don't think that he's involved. I
yeah.
don't think he's included.
And that's where I was going because
Yeah.
everyone seemingly came out. He said,
Yeah.
"Hey, you look, this is a tight knit neighborhood," but on the behalf of the young boy,
Yeah.
everyone came out to support him. BLM walked through the neighborhood, the whole thing. And what I haven't seen is the tight knitness of his neighborhood, of his
Right.
people coming out in support of him. So then that's kind of a little contradictory there. So I feel like maybe again somebody was trying to be more than what they supposed to be. Here we go. I finally
Hmm.
got it. Okay, so if you guys can see this,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
This is literally in the neighborhood, probably across the street from his house. I think his house is probably over to the right as you look at the picture.
yeah, looking at that
Uh,
picture. Yep.
yeah, looking at that picture. So I've seen a few different shots of protests outside this guy's house, and all he does is peek out the window. None of his supposed tight knit neighbors have come out to support him or even say anything as far as any information that I've seen. Uh,
Right.
so he's standing on this little island by himself that he created. But to me, a larger issue is how empowered um, some people with that white skin feel.
I mean, and that becomes the issue, man. It really becomes the issue because rather than and we're gonna talk about this later, because there's things that it's hard to digest, and we've talked about this ad nauseum before, but they just continuously happen, right?
And
So I don't want to, jump into the future segments here we're gonna have shortly, but it's just like as you said, somebody can do something or say something or act a certain way because of what they look like. But the
mm,
other side of that story is the opposite can't. I
right,
can't defend myself. I can't, claim, ownership to anything because of what I look like, and I don't
yeah,
ultimately have a fair shot in whatever the situation might be, whether it be a routine traffic stop, whether it be me walking through the neighborhood, whatever the hell it may be. I
hmm,
seem to always be the one that's at the disadvantage,
yeah,
and I think that that's
always,
what this whole show, Iniquities, that's what we're kind of talking about. So more to come with Pentland. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll be
yeah,
kind of awaiting that. But yeah, I just wanted to start with like these are the things that I feel like, just like last week with Lieutenant Nazor, these affect our mental health situations, and they may not even have anything to do with us personally. But you
right,
get tired of
yeah.
feeling and seeing something of, unjust, and you
You
just
see
have to
yourself,
digest it.
you see yourself, or you see somebody that you love in each one of these situations.
Yeah,
You know, because these people look just like us
this is
each
true.
time that they happen, and that this inequities is rooted in America's history. You know, people of color and non-whites have always had to be um, subservient
Mhm.
historically in America. So, that sense of empowerment that they've um, taken historically, it still permeates in a sense to where you see, white cops dealing with black suspects differently than they would people that look like them. So we are
Perfect
to
segue.
comply. We are to
Absolutely.
comply, you know. Meanwhile, on the other end of that spectrum, uh, compliance is optional.
Absolutely, man. And that leads us into the Ask a Doctor and mistaking a gun for a taser. So I titled the segment that because that's what, the police chief or whatever he was, he
Mhm.
came out and said
Yeah,
that.
the former
Um,
police chief.
the
Yeah,
former police chief. He come
yeah.
now. What's wild about this is a lot of people are putting their careers on the line
Hmm.
because of the blue line. And what I mean by that is instead of calling a situation what it truly is, you rather come out with a statement like that leads you
Yeah,
to then step away instead of saying,
yeah.
hey, look, you know what? There's more investigation to be had. However, but it's clear that our officer acted in a very inappropriate way.
Right.
Whether she feels sorry for her actions, whether she, lost track of the situation, whatever it may be, blah, 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 her actions were undoubtedly wrong, and leave it at that and then go forward with whatever may happen. But they rather come out and say dumb stuff like this, just like we heard the other guys say with the mass shooting a couple weeks ago. He was just having a bad day. Like, you got to really you got to really know who's listening to you when you're giving
Yeah.
your interviews. And if you're not ready, say you're not ready, because mistaking a gun for a taser, you sent me something from another cop who said, how the fuck do you do that? It's very,
Right.
very difficult to do that based on what side is dominant, based on weight, the whole nine. It's very difficult for me to fuck that up. So we're not going to roll with you mistook a gun for a taser. I
And
can't
it
get
gets
down with that.
it
Miss
gets
Kim
worse
Potter.
though. It gets worse though. She's a 26-year police force veteran.
Yep.
You can't tell me you can't tell the difference between a taser that weighs ounces versus a gun that weighs 2.6 pounds when it's loaded. Not to mention, tasers are bright freaking yellow. They're plastic.
Yeah.
If you can't tell the difference between the feel of plastic versus metal, and you're a 26-year veteran, you should not even be on a police force. And there's a this country's always had a great relationship with police and uh, how much power we've given them, and therein lies the problem. Uh, we thought at the beginning of these body cams would change all of this stuff. With the advent of cell phones and video phones, we figured things would change. All it's done is increase the awareness. Now we know this shit is happening at a more prevalent level than we may have thought. And how empowered the police are these days is they don't care about the video evidence. They don't care. They're still going out here doing it. There's no sense of repercussions. If I do these things, my body cam shows this, and there's countless people videoing these things. What's going to be the outcome? But the outcome is usually the same. They can excuse it away. I'm a 26-year veteran. I thought it was a taser. I thought it was my taser. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And the unfortunate part about all of this is our legal system. As long as you instill a bit of doubt in someone's mind in a jury, all you need is one, and you win. This becomes, instead of a cold-blooded murder, it becomes merely a mistake. At best, she'll get 10 years. At worst, at worst, she'll get 10 years. And she'll probably just get a couple, if that. But when does it end? That's the question. And here's where I'm disappointed in our current administration. We've had countless shootings, countless murders of Black and brown people, and I've yet to see this administration say anything about police reform?
I wanted to. I thought I was going to be able to hold that what I want to talk about till later,
Yeah.
but I think the perfect segue to go into that is here. So we got a kid, Dante Wright, allegedly has a warrant for having some weed when he was younger. Apparently, the warrant
A
got sent to the
misdemeanor,
wrong
no doubt.
house. He didn't
Yeah.
know it was a warrant. He got stopped for an air freshener, which was, in the way, obstructing view on the rear view, blah, blah, blah. Traffic stop happens, ends up in one single shot. He gets back in the car, tries to drive, I don't know, half a block later. Maybe it was a quarter block, whatever it was.
Yeah,
He
he's dead.
dies. Okay. So that's that situation. So the fact that it even got to the gun and a shot over something as simple as, hey, we stopped you for air freshener, whatever. Body cam shows what it shows. Boom, kid lost. But then you
Mhm.
look in the same fucking city. Minnesota's hot right now. Minnesota
Yeah.
got to really
Yeah.
get it together. From George Floyd last year to this. And now we have, as I call it, the Minnesota maniac. This motherfucker is absolutely endangering cops' lives, endangering civilians that's on the road, slammed his truck into cop vehicles because they had them boxed in. There's a cop that is seemingly hanging on for dear life on
Yeah.
the door and the
Yeah.
actual the step mount as this idiot just speeds off. So what I'm getting at is, now here's where it's tough for me. Of
Mhm.
course, they got this one guy outnumbered by a lot. Nobody seems to be escalating the situation with weaponry, i.e.,
Yeah.
as I see him backing up and slamming into fucking my car, your car, trying to make some room, I'm shooting tires out.
Yeah.
We ain't even got to go like, let's start shooting at him. I'm shooting the fucking tires out. At least nothing, no weapon,
Reduce the threat. Something.
nothing. And they let an officer hang on for dear life as he fucking now is clear and barrels down the road at some high speed. So where is the fucking force in a
I'll go
situation
one.
like that?
I'll go.
Where's the
I'm gonna
force?
add. I'm gonna add one other thing that I recently read about that whole situation. So the cop was stuck in the window, right? And he had this little hammer. I guess they're kind of like ash where they break. He was trying to break out the window. He broke out the window. The guy grabbed the hammer and started beating him upside his head with it.
So you put your life on the line in that situation,
Yeah.
in the not in the event of a, hey, I'm doing what I need to put the guy down, but instead I'm gonna fucking Superman ride this door and hope this dude doesn't kill me because he clearly out of his mind. But what is he?
Mhm.
He's a white man, older white man, 61
He's
year old.
61 years old. Yeah.
And nothing in our minds, all the officers that respond that day said, we should probably stop the threat. I'll just put it like that. Stop the threat. But when you pull up to my car and you see my skin, a lot of the times I'm already a fucking threat without
Yeah.
doing anything. That's where the issue arises with me, because we cannot, and I say this all the time, I cannot keep witnessing situations like that where
Mhm.
cops are doing everything in their power not to use their weapons, to include putting themselves in immense danger.
Yeah.
But a fucking kid now, there's nothing imposing about Dante Wright. Stature, nothing. He's a scrawny
Nah.
little kid.
Yeah.
Not a
Right.
nothing. And
Yeah.
y'all got him outnumbered 2-1 again.
Yeah.
And y'all can't restrain
With
him
weapons.
without.
With weapons.
Yeah.
No doubt. With
So,
weapons.
so there's
doubt.
no way I can continue to watch one side live to tell another day. Because how many mass shooters have we seen like that? Hell, even fucking FedEx boy, he ended up taking his own life. But I don't know if
Yeah.
cops had a chance to respond yet. Moral of the story is, either they get to have their day in court or they end up taking their own lives. But rarely is it because
Their lives
cops
are
have
taken.
done it.
They're never.
That's what,
Their lives are hardly ever taken.
and what stats will tell you is
Yeah.
more white people die in these situations than black. But we just know that's just common math because there's more white people than black people in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
So we
It's
got to get
just
off of that
numbers
narrative.
game at that point. It's just numbers at that point. It's unfortunate that perceived threats are escalated to the point of death when actual threats are not.
Yeah. And what's I'm telling you, this is when the mental anxiety, this is where the mental health kicks in, because it's shit like this. I'm not sitting here stewing because I'm like, well, fuck, they should have shot him if they shot the black kid. There are people out there like
Right.
that. I'm not
No,
claiming to be
this isn't even
situation.
about let's like level the playing field. So
Yeah, that's not.
one
It's
for
not
one. That's
comparison.
not the argument. That's not the argument. All this isn't about. This is about inequities. Why can't people of color get the same benefit as white people?
As I think
Mass
about that,
shooters,
yeah.
mass
Go
shooters
ahead. I'm
get
sorry.
more respect. Mass shooters get more respect than a kid. This get over air.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I don't understand it. It just takes me to back to when, you know, I can't remember what mass shooting it was. There's been so many when the ESPN interviewed Doc Rivers and said he said something along the lines of after all the things we've done for this country, after showing how much we love this country, why don't they love us?
Yeah. Man, that's a deep statement, man. And digesting something like this, like, and I hate to say it because a life's a life, regardless of the situation. But, I think that you could sit home and watch, that headline come up and see what was going on and be like, damn, the cops had to kill that guy today. That sucks for
Mhm.
his family. That sucks for the situation. But you know what? I understand they had to do what they had to because this fucking clown was endangering lives and potentially
Yeah,
going to kill somebody with the way he was acting. So they put him down. Versus, wait a minute, this kid had a air freshener in the car. He asked him questions. Sure, he kind of broke loose, whatever. She said, I'm gonna tase you, and then she ended up shooting him. And then she realized, oh shit, I shot him.
yeah,
It's tough to deal with. Or Lieutenant
yeah,
Azor, like, you ought to be scared that I pulled you over. You in trouble
yeah.
now. You ready to ride the lightning? Like, this is what we gotta listen to. So, man, these are not mistakes. End of the
No,
day, Kim
no.
Potter, that's not a fucking mistake. Someone's life
26-year veteran. No,
taken.
it's not a mistake.
It's not a
Yeah,
fucking mistake, especially when you say one thing you thought was the other thing.
yeah,
Fuck no. There's too many things that your training, your time on the fucking force, as you've said, just
yeah,
the dynamics of the two situations. I mean, the dynamics of the two objects, they're different. They feel different. They look different. Um, and then I look at it, you were not alone. You had a riding partner with you.
yeah,
He was there. So, though you pulled the trigger, there has to be better communication. And so in my opinion, he deserves some of this blame too.
yeah.
We
He could have.
escalate.
Hey,
Yeah, we're going a little far too quick or whatever the fuck it might
where's
be.
your taser? What are you doing?
Kim,
I
that's not your taser. Kim, that's not your taser.
yeah,
Some shit.
something, something.
Um,
But I think that for one, unions have too much power, and qualified immunity, qualified immunity is so empowering for these guys. They know they're not going to face any personal repercussions from these
yeah, we talked about
situations
that last week.
because the law protects them. Until unions are disbanded and qualified immunity is gone, this will continue. Now I'm going to try to look at it from the most optimistic of ways. Okay, we saw during the George Floyd trial, countless officers pretty much, speak out against his actions, against Derek Chauvin. They spoke out against his actions. So maybe we'll start to see a crack in this blue line of silence. Because it's amazing. And we're gonna talk about it later. I'm not gonna go into it. Let's transition to the next phase, man. To the next subject.
Okay. And before we do it, the last thing, I mean, still in Minnesota. Minnesota's super hot. With
Yeah.
them anticipating the verdict from the trial, which will come this week, as you
Hmm.
predicted. I think it's going to come on Wednesday. They have
Yeah.
already closed schools. They basically trying to shut the city down. And that lets you know, maybe, history has given them certain, milestones to remember and be like, hey, look, man, I won't call it a milestone, but certain things to remember to be like, hey, look, maybe
Yeah.
in preparation of this is what we need to do. But that just shows you how far gone we are, because you have to prepare the city for bad news. Like, because we all know if he is not convicted, if he's not, seen as guilty, if he is none of those things, then that's bad news. And I think everyone
Yeah.
knows it, to include the police department, by trying to do all
Mhm.
they can to get ahead of this thing before it even has an opportunity to actually come to light, which will be on Wednesday. So that's mind blowing that, it's almost as if, we're prepping like, oh, and the, president's going to be here. So we got to make sure, we got all these precautions in place. This is what we're doing for a criminal trial. This is insane. It's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
So my
It's
prayers go to Minnesota before Wednesday, and that we can actually get through the week, because it's going to be, man, this has
yeah.
the
It's gonna be
potential
a
to be
tense
very
week.
bad. It's going to
It's
be
gonna
a
be a
very
tense
intense
week.
week. Okay, so let's take some light for a second,
Yeah.
before we get right back into something of death. But let's have some fun real quick with some
So
news.
you dropped this one on me earlier last week, and I'm like, what the fuck? Tell me about Usher Bucks, man. Tell me.
Well, so I guess the story goes, I'm trying to find the picture of my Usher buck. So basically, I guess that he had, in promotion of something, I can't remember what the something is. He was in a club and doing his thing and having his, his party or whatever, like most people do. And there was money being tossed, or so we thought, right? But then I guess as things started to come to light and people actually started to look at the bucks, it was Usher's face, not old Ben Franklin's face, on the $100 bills. And he states that it was all promotional, but it's
Right.
caught a little bit of like negativity and light because of the way it was being used. I mean,
Mhm.
we were tipping people with this, or so I guess everybody thought, because they were being thrown. Nowadays in the club, if you're not throwing money, you ain't got money, or whatever they say, some
Right.
shit like that. So yeah, the Usher Bucks, man. So I feel like, news. We always try to have some fun and make sure we give y'all something good. I can't believe, here we go. I think I got my Usher Buck now. Let me see. There we go. There's my Usher Buck. Okay. Y'all got that?
Wow.
There it is.
Wow.
So if you
And
see, it's shaped and
yeah,
looked like 100, the whole thing. Now
if
you
you
got,
don't, it's even got the security print across the middle of it. If you don't pay close attention, you'll just see 100 and you're gonna grab that bug. And you just
yeah,
going, all right, cool.
they were in circulation. Now, of course, you can see his name, Usher, and all, but we're thinking club scene, whether it be nightclub, strip club, whatever, like,
You can't see
whatever,
that shit.
money's flying. Yeah, man. So now, he's kind of, getting clowned for doing the whole Usher Buck thing. But again, he said he was trying
Wow.
to promote himself or promote whatever he was promoting. I don't have it up. It happened at the beginning of the week. So I should have had it queued up in my notes. But this is just a
Wow.
small break from, us talking about deep things. But Usher Bucks, man, like, so we can't make this shit up. Every week is something wild. Last week it was
It
Paul
makes
Pierce,
itself up and walks into the
Usher doing.
door.
Yeah. So that's the Usher Bucks, man. So now we'll get right back to it and get back to things that of importance. And we're gonna go
Mm,
into conversations, man. And I know
yes.
we've both talked before about how, like Trevor Noah, he always seems to hit home with his thoughts.
Mhm.
He has some very thought-provoking dialogue um with sometimes his guests on his show, or he'll just, like this, he just, went live and made a, individual video about, as the title says, good apples. And where are the good apples? Now, P, I'll let you go ahead and draw this one, and then we'll get into this, because there's a lot to be said here.
Yeah, that the video kind of struck me because there's so much truth in it. Every time that we see these shootings and stuff, we always hear that, um, well, that's just one of the bad apples. It's one of the bad apples, but we never see any of the good apples. We never see those good cops out there um, doing the job the right way, and we never see those good cops holding those bad apples accountable. We always see the bad apples out front, and they get all the attention. Rightfully so, given everything that they continually do. You can't say that there's only a few bad apples when I don't see the good apples. I don't see the good cops doing anything about the bad ones. And now we can take into account that the cops um, that testified against Derek Chauvin, and the one cop that we saw in the clip about the difference between a gun and a taser. We could take those as examples of good apples, but where's the consistency in it? It's a problem within the police force, and until the police actually do something about it, it won't change. Like we talked about, racism won't change until white people make a change. Abusive cops won't change until other cops get rid of those abusive cops. But the silence just further empowers these guys to continue to do the things that they do. So we see these shootings over and over and over and over again. And then, to put it in light of our main topic, the title of the show, Inequities, we see on the other end of the spectrum, maybe the good apples are the ones that respond to these mass shootings and actually apprehend the mass shooter after the person kills 3, 5, 10, 20 people, and they take them to Burger King, get them some food, and make them comfortable.
Does that mean that's a good apple, right? Like, and my perspective on this is, whether you're parenting, whether you're in a certain position of power, respect, or whatever, there's this cardinal rule of, you do not undermine the person of authority. And what we're seeing here in a lot of these situations is we just have to assume, the cop that's usually being more aggressive is the one that is of rank and file in these situations. We can even see that on Lieutenant Nazor's situation, because the younger cop seemed to, he had some moments of being kind of vocal and aggressive, but then he was the one that was like, "Hey man, we're trying to help you," while the other cop was still fired up. So it can be assumed safely that the older cop was the one that was more dominant and in charge. So what I'm getting at with the whole undermining thing, that needs to be something that's out of the fucking equation.
Yeah.
If I'm riding along, I don't give a fuck if I've had my gun and badge and I've been riding with you for a week, and I might be brand new and I don't know shit about left, right, or up or down when it comes to being a beat cop day to day or whatever it might be. But what I do know is whatever goes wrong here, both of us are going to get investigated. We're going to get grilled. We're going to be put in a fucking ringer where we're probably going to get suspended and or lose our jobs altogether because somebody made a wrong decision and I kind of went along with it. So I'm an accomplice to watching you do fucked up shit. That's where undermining needs to come in, because we need to get a rule. We need to get away from, oh, well, he's a lead officer, he was in charge. Well, lead officer in this situation, maybe it's Kim. I'm going to tase you. I'm okay. So you put that out there. We need to both calm down and come off that fucking fence a little bit, because is that what we need to be doing? We are trained to apprehend and subdue individuals lethally and non-lethally.
Yeah,
I feel like we just skipped the non-lethal part, went straight to the lethal part. And now
just
he said it was a mistake, but fuck
top
that.
Of the top of the spectrum, of the damn use of force spectrum. Let's go to the peak.
So for me, a good apple is not afraid to speak up with the body cam on while being recorded, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, officer, fucking whoever, bro, calm down. Maybe you look at me fucked up, maybe whatever, but I don't give a shit. We can discuss all this shit later when everyone at the scene right here is still breathing and able to tell their side of the story. There's 3 sides of the story: your side, my side, and the truth, right? But I just feel like nobody is doing right by the good apples that are out there because we don't see it. There's not enough of it. I'm not going along with the bullshit.
Probably not enough.
I'm not. If we're both, assigned to be with each other, sure, we're gonna have a code of conduct. We're gonna have a code of respect. And I am going to listen to my superior when I need to.
Yeah.
However, in situations that I know wrong is wrong, and hey, this is going south very, very quickly, and someone can do something about this if they just have the fucking guts to do it, I'm going to fucking do it. You
Yeah.
might be upset. You might think that I'm challenging your authority, whatever the fuck it may be. But what you're not going to do is have me be a witness to a murder because you don't know how to fucking control your rage.
Yeah.
That's a good apple. So where the fuck are they at? Yeah, thank you for the videos telling me how a gun and a taser is different. Appreciate you. Thank you for going up there and testifying on the stand that, you know what, everything that cop did, that was wrong. Appreciate you. But body cam footage, after action footage, while we're actually looking at the footage, where the fuck are the good apples at? Just
So
like Trevor was
here's
saying.
here's what happens to good apples. Okay, a black police officer in Buffalo, New York, who was fired in 2008 for intervening when a white colleague employed a chokehold while she's giving her back pay anyway. She was reinstated, but she was fired because she stopped a white cop from doing a chokehold on a handcuffed suspect.
Mm-hmm.
The other cop got so irate at her, he punched her in the face, and her police department fired her.
God bless. Wow.
They fired her. So just last week, a judge, because she took them to court, a judge basically ordered the police department to pay her 2 years back pay and reinstate her pension. That's what happens to good cops. That's what happens to good apples.
Wow. See, and that's what's really wild, man. Like, we can go Boston police now, right? We can talk about the fucking molester out there. They knew this guy was a molester for decades, and they still let him keep a position of fucking authority. So in situations like that, you have to ask the question, like, what the fuck did they have on him? Jokingly, when we're talking sports or something, we'll take the case of what was that? Not Herm Edwards. What was the coach for the long? Marvin Lewis. Like, how the fuck did Marvin Lewis keep his job? He must have had some kind of dirt on Cincinnati. But not being funny here, really being truthful. Like, how the fuck do you have a fucked up piece of shit like this who has tons and tons of, now charges against him? I think it's upwards of 33 and I don't know, some kind of crazy
charges against him now.
But yeah, like I'm saying, like, you knew this and you did nothing. You knew this and you did fucking nothing. Goddamn, I lost P. All right, hold on live. Okay, we back. We had a little issues there. Okay, but yeah. So what we're talking, we had years and years and years of I want to say investigated. He had been investigated.
Yeah, internal affairs. Everybody investigated this guy.
Yeah, and they just kept him around, man. So how? Why?
Not just kept him around. This guy ascended within the department to become the union president. He's the president of over 1,500 uniformed patrolmen.
This is the representation.
And all right, the initial complaint was he molested someone while he was working in child sex crimes, and they left him in child sex crimes.
Unbelievable, unfucking believable. And so situations like that, man, where we say, good apples. I mean, this is beyond good apples. This is, like, where's anybody with any morals? Like, I know, like, it's one thing to be out there and I see my guy, my partner I roll with, he just racially profiling, rolling up, fucking with people. A good apple needs to be like, look, that's wrong, that's fucked up, I'm reporting you. But we know that this motherfucker has a absolute fucked up history, and we're keeping him in an apartment where people are coming to him, already in very dire situations with their situation, and we got this type of guy that they're supposed to believe in. Come on, man.
Yeah. Look, like, I read, this is one of them. It's the one case that stood out to me the most. The man molested a boy when he was 12. Years later, he molested that now adult daughter. He molested the father and the fucking and the daughter.
Unreal. Like, I don't even know how he put himself in this situation to still be in the lives of the man's daughter that he did molest. Amazing, as well,
man.
I don't know, man.
Amazing. I mean,
got to start over. It's a lot of departments. It's got to be fucking unzippered and purged and started. I mean, no, you can't, completely, I guess minimalize the police force. But all right, we taking out 40% of y'all overnight. But goddamn it, the same way we have enlistment contracts or whatever, perhaps maybe that's what it is. Perhaps something like that is instituted where, like, your cop days are not just until A, you get in trouble, B, you do something dumb and you get fired, or you know what, I just want to get a better job. Nah, perhaps maybe
we're putting a cap on your time.
Yeah, windows. You got after your 3-year evaluation, you ain't cutting it, bro. You out of here. You got to create something. You got to create something. Shit. I mean, it's almost like you're enlisting when you become an officer. Yeah, you got to swear in. You got to do the whole fucking thing.
But like they tell us when we're in the military, this is not a right. It's a privilege.
Yeah,
and that's where the whole dynamic has been completely skewed. Is they feel like once they put that badge on, they have that gun. It's no longer a privilege. They're not protecting and serving. That's just words on a car.
Yeah,
they are in that job to do whatever the hell they want because they can do it without any consequence whatsoever. History has shown there's little to no consequence for what cops do. Now, every blue moon, they'll throw the world a pound of flesh. The cop that killed Quan McDonald got 14 years in Chicago, but that does not cover for the countless other murders the cops have committed in Chicago, one of which was a 13-year-old kid just recently shot in cold blood.
Yeah, Chicago. Another mistake or another situation where we thought something was something. Body cam footage is showing one thing. The cop's statement
is saying another.
So, I mean, again, man, as we close conversations, good apples, where are you? Present yourself. And not always after the fact. You have to be preemptive in this thing. You have to think forward. I want to stop issues before they actually have a chance. So when we know there's bad apples, the Derek Chauvins of the world, others, countless others, why are we afraid to stop them, remove them before their own trial? Think about it. Okay, man. So moving into our last little segment here, CO's final note. Let's get queued up. This really had me thinking all week, man. So I'm gonna just let it play. Here we go.
You say I got black friends and you can't empathize with what the plight that they're going through right now. You don't have black friends. You know black people. There's a difference between the two. That is true. See, that's what we're starting to see when they speak out. The Brian Urlachers and all these others talking about I got black friends. No, you know black people because you lack empathy. You see what they're going through. You see what's happening, and you pretend because it's political.
Now that's Shannon Sharp speaking on Undisputed. And so many times I guess I've tried to figure out the best way to say this because I hate to
Yeah.
say it, but it's always sort of a scapegoat when these type of things arise. People be like, well, I'm not racist. I got black friends and I this and when you lead with I got black friends, you've already kind of missed me. I don't need you to lead with that. What I need you to lead with is complete respect for the situation. Then speak on your own personal, relationships. But when you say I got black friends, what are you really trying to to me, there's two
Yeah.
things like either you're trying to be conscious because maybe you're speaking to, a lot of minorities
Hmm.
or you're trying to, I guess, speak over the truth of what you just witnessed. And you're
Yeah.
trying to give the black life you don't know a voice in your own by saying, well, I don't treat people like that because I got black friends. But ultimately, you're not even understanding the situation because you're afraid of the conversation. You're afraid of the
Yeah.
conversation that talks about race. Unfortunately, we're never going to get away from that.
No.
So
No.
you leading with race doesn't give me a good feeling either. Well, I got black friends. I don't give a fuck. That don't mean anything. You're not
Right.
empathizing with what's going on. Okay. And I get it. People out there marching, standing right next to Black Lives Matter and all that. This is not about that.
No,
This
it's not.
simple statement for me, I have black friends, is you sometimes wanting to escape the truth. The truth
Yeah.
is a lot of somebodies that may be white or look like you are killing a lot of somebodies that may be black and look like me. And
Hmm.
that's a conversation that I feel like most people don't know how to remove themselves. I'm not blaming you because you didn't kill anybody.
Right.
But I'm not going to also say, well, that person that shot him, they're something other than white if they're not. They're white. And that's what you need to understand. Don't tell me that your black friends give you a pass because we're not here to give anybody a pass. And that doesn't give you, a tangent to go off to not face the truth. Everybody's hands gotta be put in, and unfortunately, they're not really hearing mine. They're
Yeah.
not. I want them to hear yours just as loud as I'm trying them to hear mine. So if you got black friends, get up there and tell your congressman you got black friends. Don't fucking tell me. If you
Yeah.
got black friends,
See,
get up there and tell your president you got black friends. Don't fucking tell me.
and to me, those that use that, it's their way of trying to absolve themselves of any sense of responsibility to change things. Well, I have black friends, so I'm on the right side of history. Even if that's true, your voice has weight that your black friend's voice don't.
And that's a
So use
sad
it.
reality, but a true reality, even in modern day 2021. Because you know
Yeah.
what? Frederick Douglass had black friends in the 1780s. And Frederick Douglass had white friends in the 1780s. But you know
Hmm.
what? He had to play a certain role. He had to become something a little bit untrue of himself while remaining true to himself to get what he wanted accomplished. That's 1780, man. Not
Yeah.
2021. We shouldn't still be trying to like ride the fence here. If you telling me you got black friends, help your black friends. Stand up with your black friends and do more than
Yeah.
protest, man. Do right by, like, we talk about this shit all the time, and I'm not trying to get way down into the weeds and tell people how to live their lives and vote and all that. But I tell you what, if you know the person you voting for does not consider your black friend, think about what you voting for versus what you might think
Exactly.
you for. Oh, my tax is gonna be higher if that dude is in. But is this guy over
Hmm.
here thinking about your black friend you claim to have? Is he making it level and equal and it's gonna be a better place overall to exist in America? Or is just your tax bracket gonna be
Yeah.
somewhat forgiven? What are you really voting for? And that's what I'm saying. Don't use black friends when it's, I guess, comfortable
When it's
because
convenient.
full of them versus I had a chance to do something with my voice, whether that is dropping it in a ballot box or going out there to petition, protest, whatever it might be, to make things equal. Because you know what I don't want my kids to have to listen to, because he's 6 years old and a whole different another generation when he my age, is I got somebody told me I had black friends. That's something that's got to die off. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel. You know, I'm not trying to come off the
The,
wrong way with that, but it's just overly used. Overly used.
and just think about the last 4.5 years, really, and having served in the military, I have come to know a lot of white people. And over the last 4.5 years, a lot of those same white people have revealed themselves that I'm just a black person. I'm not a black friend.
Yeah, that's true. I've been there. I've had to unfriend some. I've had
Yeah,
some other
yeah.
conversations with some. And the conversations, I guess maybe perhaps both sides feel that they're right. I felt that I was right. Maybe they felt that they were right as well. But at the end of the day, we couldn't see past our differences. And, before it had a chance to become something, it shouldn't have been, we just equally decided we should, part. But that showed me at that point, like perhaps, just maybe, perhaps for the longest, I had maybe known that I was just somebody they knew, and
Mm,
then mentally just allow myself to feel like a friend. And that's
yeah.
something, everybody talks about cleaning up their friends list and all that. I'm not telling everybody to go out there and weed them out, but sometimes you can't help it. You just show who you are. You just
Yeah.
show who you are. And conscious things, I know the media hype stuff, what we see hype stuff, but there's a level of consciousness as well. Like you can have all the feeling you want about the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin thing, and then you have to break it down to one thing. Take all the color out, take everything else out. Just let me stand on your neck with my knee for 9 minutes. Just let me do that.
Yeah.
Forget about every fucking thing else. Forget about what I might have done earlier that day. Forget about what you might have done, what you ate, all that. Throw all that out the window. Just go back
Mhm.
to that one thing. Let me put my knee on your neck for 9 minutes and have somebody else evaluate that situation and tell me if they think that's right or wrong. That's where we're breaking
Yeah.
this down. Okay. So I don't give a shit about nothing else but that. And if you can sit here and say, but, no buts, just straightforward. Is it right
Right.
or wrong? And your
Yeah.
answer is, you know what? That was fucking wrong. Then the conversation's over. Conversation's over. Black, white, all that's over with. What his
Yeah.
actions were wrong. And then there's a fucking penalty to pay for his wrongdoing. That's where we are. Give
Yeah.
two shits about fentanyl if that was a thing, methamphetamine if that was a thing, if he had a criminal record. I can give two fucking shits about that. We're breaking down what's right and wrong. And so that's often what I find myself doing with friends on my friends list, trying to explain right and wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not talking like a lawyer because I'm not. I'm not talking like a criminal investigator because I'm fucking not. But you can't tell me your eyes didn't see wrong, and wrong led to death. And
But
death is
America has this love affair with individuality. You know, yeah, we inhabit this huge space together, but Americans don't give a shit about the person next to them. They don't. As a people, America does not give a fuck about Americans.
I mean, it's sometimes it's hard to really look at, what we might call a truth, like you just spoke, but how can you not when you see what we do for other countries to perhaps maybe, create better ties? But then what we do at home is not creating a better,
Completely counter to what we try to do for everybody else.
not
You know,
creating.
our democracy does not come without a cost for the people who are supposed to benefit from it, and that's unfortunate. You know, it's it's mind-boggling to me that you know we can do so much for so many other people, but we look at each other and we don't see humanity. You know, we
Yeah.
see adversaries. We see somebody infringing on our rights and our ability to do things. You know, so I want to end with one thing. And I know this is your final note, but this is something that happened to me a couple of days ago. So I'm a disabled vet. I have one of those handicap placards that I put in my car window. So a couple of days ago, I went to the hardware store to try to find a breaker because one of the breakers in one of my rooms went out. And I parked in a handicap spot. I run in, and I hear this voice behind me. There's no fucking way you're handicapped. And I turn around, excuse me? He's like, there's no fucking way you're handicapped. What the fuck you doing in that space? It's a little old white guy. I was like, man, you don't know my story any more than I know yours. Leave me alone. All right. So I'm talking to the lady who works in the store. She's trying to help me find his breaker, and he's still going at it. He's still going. You're healthy. Look at you. You're strapping young black man. You're healthy. I said, look, man, stop trying to call me out up in here. You don't know my story. I'm not in your business. Stay the fuck out of mine, right? From a distance. He's still going, still going, still going. I've walked up to him probably a foot from his face because at this point I'm pissed. I said, motherfucker, I will kick your ass. Stay the fuck out my business. And he quieted the fuck down, right? He quieted down. And I was pissed. I mean, I could feel my body shaking because I was so mad. And the lady that was helping me, she's like, you were right to do that. He has nothing to do with your business. And I thought about it. There's a sense of calm that came over me, and I said to myself, don't let this shit end on a bad note. So I went and talked to the man. He was with his wife, and she tells me, hey, look, I'm sorry. He's got some issues. He's a vet. And I was like, look, ma'am, I'm a vet too. Talked to the old man for like 15 minutes, man. Nice conversation. We came to understand each other. That's what's fucking missing in this country.
That's what's missing. And the fact that you didn't leave the situation like it was, because you're doing your part by going and addressing it. But even still, we talk about that anxiety, that mental stress, that right there, the fact that you had to go out of your way to make something right because of how you were perceived. Your look, your life, you can't be disabled because perhaps I'm taking, I didn't see the guy, but I'm taking his position. Perhaps he shows his disabledness. Perhaps he's old and rickety and this, that, and other. The moral of the story is he could not see you as a disabled vet because for whatever reason you had to prove something to him, almost as if you had to pull out a certain, piece of identification that stated
I'm a disabled vet card.
And that's where it's an issue. That goes back to Sergeant Pentland at the beginning of the show. Mm-hmm. I don't have to show you anything, sir or ma'am. I don't care how many barbecue Beckys we have and every dog park Deborahs and everybody else. They feel as if they need some type of assurance that I am who I say I am, or I have the right to be wherever we are. I don't.
Or to do the things that you're doing. That's
Inequities. We don't have to prove anything to anybody. And I'm tired of feeling, the pressures of other members, other minorities that we see and hear their stories because they felt that way, because their life, take the situation, Lieutenant Nazor, was potentially on the line. I don't have to fucking prove to you anything just because you say, and most people think that word comply doesn't come with other, I guess, anxieties or stresses, but it fucking does, because you realize I had to belittle myself. I had to become something for you to save my own fucking life that day.
Yeah.
You can't, that's what post-traumatic stress is, just without perhaps maybe, the mortars and gunfire. But even still, like, I'm forever going to be mentally scarred by this situation because am I not afforded the right to be an American citizen because of my skin color? And I just happened to meet somebody of an opposite skin color today that wanted to test it. And if I didn't show him or her or say what they wanted me to say, then perhaps they could have ended my life. That is beyond fucking stressful. and creates
Yeah.
issues beyond the imagination at points, man. So leaving on this on that final note, black friends and knowing black people, that's completely different, man. And I think Shannon Sharp did an amazing job of speaking that
Yeah.
way this week, and I had to bring that to the show, man. So
I
that is
don't agree
all
with
I
him
have.
about a lot of things. I don't agree with him about, LeBron being the GOAT, but yeah, he was on point with that one. He really was. You know, in light of everything, I hate to feel like, we don't have any sense of power over at least our actions. Um, and that's why I felt like, let me at least from my mental well-being, I'm gonna go talk to this man, so I don't have to review this thing in my head later on what could have been done differently. And it speaks to that PTSD thing that we all, every black person, every minority in America has. Um, let me ask you this: have you ever been stopped by the cops and found yourself being placed in a less than comfortable subservient role because you don't have the power? And after that situation, you find yourself reviewing it over and over and over, and you feel the weight of it. What could I have done differently? What could I have done differently? I don't like the way I feel because I felt like my manhood was taken away from me for those brief moments.
Yep, there was one time in Texas that I felt that way, and I don't know, man. I was just really, really mad because
Yeah.
and perhaps I was using my saving grace. I led with my, military ID card, and immediately he's like, I don't need to see that. I already knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe he was like, you don't need to tell me you're a uniform, member, blah, blah, blah. Or perhaps he was just like, I don't give two shits about that. But it started bad right there for me.
Right.
And no, I did not do a whole bunch of yes, sirs, no, sir, because at that point I was like, whatever. But what happened in that situation is I had to stomach who he was as a person, so shit wouldn't escalate.
Yeah.
So, he was very demeaning. He talked down on me. He was a bigger guy. And I just felt like, I just had to be like, all right. So I was super short. He's like, yeah, if you want to, whatever, go to court this is the day. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever, man. We done. He's like, yeah, you don't have to have an attitude about the situation. I was like, whatever, man. He gave me the ticket and walked away. But I felt I was so fucking mad just because of I knew the way he came off, and I was like, he gets to do this at Liberty.
Yeah.
He just gets to do this every day.
This is every fucking day for him. Every traffic stop is like this for this guy.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not giving no
Mine is
format.
similar.
Within 2 seconds, 5 seconds, the first, 10 seconds max of us communicating, that determines whether or not formalities will be had.
Oh, hands down.
I'm not doing no sir.
Hands down, man. My situation is pretty much the same as yours. I know instantly right off the bat. Once I'm asked, you know what I stopped you for, and I'm like, no, I don't. How do you not know? And that next reaction, that next, that kind of spells out how this thing is gonna go. And I keep my comments to a minimum.
Yep.
You're not getting the respect that you feel like you deserve. I'm not gonna disrespect you, but I'm not gonna play that role. And leaving, I'm usually, in that moment, I was so mad that I was shaking. Why?
Man, I'll say this very last thing before we get off. In the day and age that we live with all the technology have in their car, don't even come to my fucking door. Yell that shit over the fucking horn. I mean, over your intercom.
Over your little PA, over the car PA system.
You fucking can do that. So you can absolutely ask certain questions, and I can hear you. You can hear me. Do that shit over there, bro. Don't even come to my fucking car. Because if you an asshole, and my life may end up being taken tonight, or somebody else's life may be taken in that situation, what the fuck? How was I supposed to respond? You pissed off.
It's a lose-lose for us.
It's a lose,
and that's the problem. It's a lose-lose. No matter what we do, it's a lose-lose. Now, I can't say that every interaction I've had with cops has been that way. Dude, I got caught flat out speeding, going 95 miles an hour one day. Fucking Phoenix PD car pulled up behind me, and I instantly put my hands out the window, right? And he over his PA, he's like, no, don't do that shit. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna hurt you. Put your hands back in. I put my hands back in the car on the steering wheel. He walked up. He was like, "Yo, man, I'm not that cop. I'm not him." It was a little short white guy. He was cool as fuck. Didn't even give me a ticket. Not every one of my I would say not every one of ours have been in a negative light. But those negative lights are so fucking heavy because they're so unnecessary.
Got pulled over on 9/11 one day in not Oklahoma, I'm sorry, in Ohio. And I didn't have my top off, but it was in my passenger seat. And he was like, you know what, man? Thank you for your service, especially on a day like this. And I told him thank you for his. And he was just like, all right, just keep it down a little bit. Went on about his day. I'm not saying everybody needs to just, write off things that happen. Was I speeding? Sure. Were you speeding? Sure. But I'm also stating there's situations in life that you don't understand. You're trying to do your job and somebody got something going on. Already, we got to be able to communicate, but I might not want to communicate. You know what I mean? I might have had a fucked up argument with my wife. That doesn't give me the right to speed. Please do not, mistake my words there. But there's got to be a little bit of understanding. And sure, perhaps maybe you do still end up giving me a ticket, but at least you're going to ask me some questions about the relevance of my well-being at that point. Sir, are you okay? Like no BS, all hands off. I'm not trying to cop this shit right now, but you just seem like, something ain't right. You know what? If you can help a little girl get her kitty out the tree, you might be able to help a fucking person from taking a life later that day. Or on their way to take their life. So there's more to being a cop, in my opinion, than just writing a piece of paper and throwing it in the fucking car. So I'm saying, read, if you can, read the fucking situation. Don't just come up, ask questions that I might not give two fucks about, And, you got to know how to carry yourself and be like, okay, yeah, maybe this person is being a little bit over aggressive talking about, the person in the car, but that doesn't mean I need to get to that level. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have you sit right here. I might call for backup. We're going to square it away, but we're going to make sure you can get off safely without me having to really fucking go and damn Rambo this situation. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And we way over our time.
Well said. Yeah, we're 12 minutes over. That being said, hey, listeners, thank you. If anybody tuned in with us, we appreciate the time. And, thanks for sticking with us through our third season, 16th episode.
Absolutely. All right. Till next time. See you on the doctor. Y'all have a good week.